These are support backpacks, equipment that almost every single Helldiver takes into combat, as just like in real life, they provide a huge boost to utility. I tested all 6 of these stratagems to not only tell you which is the most practical, but more importantly as always, which is the coolest. Of course, before we dive into them, it's important to know how we can upgrade them from the ship management terminal on your ship, where you'll find only a single upgrade under the Patriotic Administration Center tab. It's an easy one, let's break it down. The upgrade is called Handcarts. Coming in at 80 common, 60 rare and 5 super samples, it mentions it provides handcarts which carry multiple backpack stratagems from storage, decreasing both reload time and crew lumbar injuries. The poor Super Destroyer crew are back at it again, with questionable working environments. I'm sure they appreciate not having to carry the stratagem from storage by hand. This upgrade decreases the cooldown of all backpack stratagem by 10%, which brings their cooldowns from 480 seconds or 8 minutes to 432 seconds or 7 minutes and 12 seconds. Which, to be honest, isn't the most noticeable upgrade really, it's more just a grind stepping stone to superior packing methodology, which they keep breaking anyway, but thankfully it's been fixed again. Yay! This upgrade really ought to have had a 20% cooldown reduction for it to really have an impact. Before we check out the stratagems, there has been some fresh changes which we'll talk about, but I just wanted to showcase the new toggle function for the drone backpacks, which allows you to activate or deactivate them from flying, which is fun, but sort of pointless. It's nice to have the option though, I suppose. Right, now we'll move on to the stratagems themselves. Like with my Eagle, Orbital, Sentry and support weapon videos, I'll be going through each one, giving tested statistics, tips and tricks you may not know, ranking them for their aesthetics or how cool they are as we go, and I'll be giving and discussing my Practicality tier list at the end. There's 7 to get through, so without further ado, let's jump into them, starting off with the AX-AR-23 Guard Dog. This stratagem houses a flying companion robot that is equipped with a newly changed Liberator Penetrator assault rifle, which means it now has an armor penetration value of 3 rather than 2, which it was pre-buffed. Each shot now deals a nerfed 60 normal damage per shot or 14 durable damage per shot, although the higher armor penetration value makes up for the damage loss somewhat. Like the other automated weaponry in the game, it only fires for the center mass of an enemy, so it will not target weak spots. They also buffed its magazine capacity, meaning it now matches the primary weapon's magazine at 45 bullets per magazine as opposed to having 30, allowing it to match the uptime to the standard weapon. The stratagem has its own ammunition reserve, which you can rearm with supply boxes and ammo crates you find lying about. But you don't have an indication as to how much ammunition you actually have in reserve, so your only point of reference is whether the guard dog is actually shooting anything. But we do know, thanks to the patch notes, that it has 8 magazines in total. When it is actually shooting things, thanks to the buffs, it's actually like 2 to 3 4-shotting maybe most target, which is absolutely amazing, so it's gotten a healthy juice to its power, making it quite an effective companion. With regards to aesthetics, I do like the look of the flying companion, but it's still a mediocre prospect for me, so I'll be giving it a 5 for the coolness leaderboard. Next up, we have its sibling, the AX-LAS-5 Guard Dog Rover, another flying companion that is instead equipped with a unique laser rifle that I believe used to have the same DPS as the Scythe at 350, as it even references the Scythe's call sign in its name, LAS-5, but it was hit with its own unique nerf of 30%, meaning if it did indeed use the Scythe, it would have a DPS of 245, which sounds quite low. If someone can confirm this, I would be grateful. Anyway, whether this is true or not, it comes in at a lower armor penetration value than the standard guard dog, with an armor penetration value of 2 or level 2 light armor penetration. The key advantages it has over the standard variant are the fact it has infinite ammunition and no reload time. The simple fact of never having to worry about ammunition for it is a blessing, honestly, and it beams through all the trash enemies well enough, making it an excellent pick for Terminids, as it will stop all those really annoying hoppers and hunters from disturbing your peace, and it will enable you to use your heavier weapons more democratically. The only downside to this stratagem is it is much more prone to delivering friendly fire to your teammates, as it continuously fires between targets, so your fellow divers are sure to feel the love of the laser at some point during the dive. Aesthetically, it's a bit cooler than its sibling due to the laser, so I'll rate it at a 6. And completing the family, we have the new AX/TX-13 Guard Dog Dog Breath. This one comes equipped with a new sterilizer gas rifle, with the concept behind it being a crowd control focus, confusing the enemy, distracting them, and having them attack their fellow teammates. But I'm not gonna lie, this might be one of the worst stratagem in the entire game. Its damage is non-existent. To back that up, you can see it laughably dealing with this scavenger squad, or not doing so. It's really something to behold. As you can see, it also only ever focuses on a single target with its spread, and even when it has a clear shot, it struggles to even afflict the enemy half of the time as well, so you don't even get the benefit of its crowd control. To add insult to injury, its range is so low that it barely engages in any meaningful fights with you, and it just hovers around aimlessly. This makes it completely useless on automatons, as there's mostly ranged battles, and mostly useless on terminids. As far as I could test, it does seem to have infinite ammunition, which is at least one positive, but Arrowhead honestly took 2 steps forward and 1 step back with this warbond. The weapon really needs a higher aggro range, more damage, and to be more consistent at actually hitting its targets so it can afflict them. Otherwise, it's an absolute trash tier stratagem. On the aesthetic side, the gas from the stratagem and the handheld sterilizer as well fail to woo me, especially when you compare it to the gas effects of the Orbital gas strike, so it's getting a low 4 for me on its looks. Moving on from the damage backpack stratagems, we come to a little more utility in the B-1 supply pack. This stratagem holds 4 distinctive mini supply packs that the wearer can use to refill 2 ammunition, 2 grenades, and 2 stims for their teammates by pressing E on PC when near a player. You can reference the UI elements in the bottom left hand side to see whether someone is in need. Flashing red icons mean they are low, and solid red means they are empty. This also stocks their support weapon ammunition as well, and you can visually check your squad mate's support backpack if they have one for empty rockets or autocannon clips. The wearer can also use the supply pack to refill their own equipment by pressing 5 on PC. When bringing it on a solo venture, I would strongly advise you come equipped with armor that has the engineering kit or medkit passives, as you can strongly utilize the extra 2 grenades or stims very well by keeping yourself stocked and healthy. To double up on this utility, you may want to consider bringing ammo-hungry weaponry as well. This could include the grenade pistol, any of the machine gun stratagem, the flamethrower or AMR for example, as well. Here's a list of weapons I find work very well with it. It's important to know though that each resupply box you pick up will only refill 1 resupply box in the backpack. So you should ideally take 1 of the 4 and then hoover up the rest that your teammates don't use. You can also resummon the stratagem once its cooldown has been refreshed to get a new one with maximum supplies. This stratagem really is the king of opening up loadouts, so I really do recommend you try it. With regards to aesthetics, it almost seems unfair to give it a low score, but visually it does very little. I won't be mean and give it a 1, so I'll go for a 2, why not? Moving on to the other utility backpack we have, the Lift 850 Jump Pack. This stratagem lets us live our Mandalorian dreams, increasing the user's mobility massively by allowing them to jump large distances, and it has just received some lovely buffs, which allowed it to jump further with a lower cooldown of 15 seconds from 20. The horizontal distance of the jump itself is affected by how fast you're moving before the jump, meaning you'll move further if you're running and a shorter distance without stamina. This also means that armor type directly impacts the distance of the jump as well, with light armor obviously being the furthest distance and heavy armor the shortest. Status effects that slow your movement, such as bile attacks from terminids, damaging planetary flora or barbed wire, will obviously also affect this. Unfortunately, you're unable to aim weapons whilst in a jump, which is a bit of a shame to be honest, but you can aim and throw grenades and stratagem orbs though, so at least you can do something whilst in the air. This stratagem can get you out some really bad situations by treating your foes like Anakin and taking the high ground. It can also help you cross bodies of water or gaps in the terrain as well. Aesthetically, it's great. It gives you that Mandalorian fantasy as I mentioned, and it's pretty cool looking. A little tidbit is it will also slowly burn burn out your cape the more you use it, which is a great detail. So it's going to rank a solid 8 for appearances. Penultimately moving on to the first of 2 shield backpack stratagems, the first being the SH-20 Ballistic Shield. My good friend and content creator Reginald made his own tutorial for the Ballistic Shield, so I'll let him introduce you to the basics.
First, we're going to start with what the shield can do and what the shield can't do. The shield, from what I can tell from testing, appears to be heavy armor, so it'll block any shots that can't penetrate heavy armor. However, the weapon does not protect you from any kind of anti-vehicle threats, and it certainly doesn't protect you from explosions.
Are you ready?
Yep. Any threats that do get blocked by the shield are usually, if they're ballistic, ricocheted. To use the shield, that is to say to block, you're going to hold right click on a computer or whatever button makes you aim down sights for all of your guns. On this weapon, so that'll be the Defender and all of the pistols, but none of the other rifles or shotguns. You can continue to block while using the grenade, the stim, and while reloading. Each of these has its own level of exposure that's different from just holding the shield up naturally, so please be advised that throwing a grenade or using a stim will expose you to a lot of fire, even though the shield is still being held up and blocking some of the incoming attacks.
Shout out Reginald. I've dropped a link for you to check out his Ballistic Shield tutorial in the description below. So yeah, this thing is going to protect you from every laser projectile the automatons will throw at you, but as Reg said, any explosive or heavy shots will destroy you and the shield. It will also provide this protection whilst it's unequipped on your back as well, which can be a great utility for retreating or repositioning on the battlefield. The biggest downfall for the stratagem at the moment is that it does not protect you from melee attacks or terminated bile spewing, making it wholly useless against the bugs, and it will also not protect you against fire, so do not try a hero standoff with a flamethrower Hulk because you're going to have a very bad time. It definitely looks pretty awesome rolling around with a physical shield in the game, even though it does have some impracticalities, so I think I'll rank it a very Spartan 7 for its aesthetics. And finally we come to the SH-32 Shield Generator Pack. This provides 360 degree spherical protection for the user. I believe it has 100 HP, effectively doubling your total HP value and protecting you from all damage sources, including melee attacks, making it a great choice for both factions. Whilst active, it also makes you immune to most ailments, status effects or attacks that can ragdoll you, meaning terminated bile won't slow you, and automaton missiles won't ragdoll you, which is in itself an incredible boost to your general survivability. Unfortunately though, Stalker's licks will still ragdoll you. Once it has sustained any level of damage, it will take 1 minute before recharging fully, unless the shield is fully depleted, in which case it will take 12 seconds to turn back on, taking an extra second to fully recharge again. The shield can also provide protection to a large area of the upper half of an exosuit, which is excellent considering how feeble exosuit armor is. And a good thing to know as well, it will protect you from some small blasts, such as the one from the autocannon here, but it will not protect you against the overkill from being point blank to a large explosion, though it will absorb them if you're a little further away. But we all know the biggest buff that this backpack gives us is that comfortable feeling that we're being protected. I swear, it lets your mind dial in on delivering as much damage as possible, because, you know, there's just less worrying. Aesthetically, it's pretty sweet, but nothing to write home about, and I do find it to become a visual annoyance sometimes when I want a clear third-person view, but I'll give it a solid 5 for aesthetics. With that all said and done, here is my tier list for the backpacks, not considering anything else in the game. Split into a list for each faction, the shield generator has comfortably taken the S tier slot on both here, as it's useful in every single situation against any faction. It's undeniable in its status as the best backpack. Coming in as runners-up in A tier for both factions, we have the supply pack, as it provides such an amazing amount of utility, opening up loadout options massively, and when paired up with armor that has the medkit passive, you can play comfortably without the shield generator. Also in A for both lists is the guard dog, which thanks to its new buffs changing it from a normal liberator to a liberator penetrator, it actually is pretty insane how much damage this can dish out now. Though I still do find the downtime a little bit annoying compared to the guard dog Rover, but overall I think it does perform slightly better. Further in A we have the guard dog Rover, which is its laser variant. Its infinite ammunition and great DPS are all enough to stop hoppers and hunters from ruining your day a lot of the time, which is invaluable. It gets C on the box list though, though, due to being much less effective, mainly due to the lack of intentional aiming. Moving down to the B tier, we find the Ballistic Shield for the bots, as it's able to protect you from a very large array of ranged attacks that they throw at you, but it's generally not really a super effective solution unless you're devoted to becoming a top 1% Ballistic Shield user. It gets the bottom rank of D on the bugs, as it doesn't protect you from bile or melee attacks, making it pretty much useless. In the C tier for both lists, we have the Jetpack, as whilst it's awesome, I personally just don't find it very practical against the other choices. And down in the bottom tier, the Dog Breath, which is entirely useless. And then we have the Coolness Leaderboard, where the Jetpack tops the range quite easily, with the Ballistic Shield coming in as a runner-up. Let me know whether you agree or disagree with my rankings on either list, but for now, I'll catch you on the next video.